Welcome to EPI-STEM podcast. This EPI-STEM podcast is brought to you from the National Centre of STEM Education at the School of Education in the University of Limerick. I'm your host, Geraldine Simmie, and I'm the Professor of STEM Education here at the Centre and the Director of EPI-STEM. And my co-host,
Michelle Starr, and I am the Research Liaison Officer in EPI-STEM.
You're very welcome today to the EPI-STEM podcast. My name is Geraldine Simmie. I'm actually here as the Professor of STEM Education in EPI-STEM in the School of Education in the University of Limerick. And my co-host...
I'm here with Geraldine, and my name is Michelle Starr, and I am the Research Liaison Officer in EPI-STEM, and I also lecture in Mary Immaculate College in the Sociology of Education.
So you're very, very welcome to our podcast today. We're actually going to be talking about, I suppose, STEM education and STEAM education, which are great interests of ours at the actual EPI-STEM Research Centre. As a national research centre in STEM education, we are interested in research and development and outreach and having our research make an impact in people's lives and in the lives of our students in schools and our student teachers at the university. So we're very, very keen to talk with a lot of policymakers, researchers, students, teachers, all of the above, including our own education researchers here at the School of Education. Okay, so we're going to talk to you today briefly about a new outreach project we have with schools, where we invited schools to be involved with us in a project called Design Your Own Eco-Village in Ireland in 2050. And we wanted that project to give a release of imagination to allow our students to think outside the box around what kind of a village they would like and what kind of village life they'd like in Ireland in 2050. That's, 26 years from now. And to dream big and to think about all kinds of ways. But we wanted them to mostly focus on social justice, having a decent society, a thriving economy, and a sustainable environment. And those were the only, I suppose, key parts that we put. Now, the project is run in collaboration with the Hunt Museum, so we're very thankful to Maria Cagney and Emma King for that, and for our other partner, Norma O'Brien, who's the Director of the Limerick Education Support Centre. If we hadn't been together with them for many, many months, we wouldn't have got the shape on the project that we have now. So our guest speaker is one of our research assistants, Katelyn O'Neill. I'd love to welcome you, Katelyn, today. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why this project has interested you?
Of course. Hello, everyone. So as Geraldine was saying, I'm a researcher here at EPI-STEM. As well as a research assistant, I'm also a student teacher. I wanted to just extend a heartfelt thanks to both the Hunt Museum and EPI-STEM for having me on board this really exciting project. One thing that I want to say is something I wasn't expecting was from when I had my class for the first time on Friday. It was actually really interesting to see how excited about the projects they were. So I was taking over from my cooperation teacher. I'm sure a lot of student teachers, if they're listening to this, they will know what I'm talking about. So I took over on Friday and I had them for the first time. They were sharing ideas that they were already talking about with their teacher. But when I was introducing our project, I was talking about the 3 core themes, and we focused on green housing. Now, what was so interesting to see was these boys in their groups, they collectively brought so many ideas to me, even ideas that were outside of the scope of the project. They were talking to me about how they wanted to even raise funds for their green school in the school by having these bottle-specific bins, so then they could collect them and cash them in to try and fund any projects that we do have. But then on top of that, when we were talking about our core theme, housing, they were mentioning to me how even that they've installed solar panels, and they were talking about to me the savings that has brought their family. Other students then were saying how they were expressing, I suppose, their concern that there are a lot of houses in Limerick, and I suppose just in Ireland in general, that aren't currently occupied, and how that, the government need to come in and then kind of renovate those houses, make them more eco-friendly before deciding just to build new houses. There are structures currently out there right now that they can be renovated, and then, it can sort 2 things, our housing crisis, but also our need for more eco-friendly housing.
Yeah, I think what's lovely is that we're getting the young people to grasp some of the questions. Now we're giving them resources that have the top science and the technology and the engineering and all of the different ways in which this has been done across the world. And of course, we are actually also wanting now, this will be a tough nut to crack. And Michelle, you'll help me with this one here, but this will be the toughest nut to crack, will be to get them away from not only thinking of their own families and their own house, but the greater good of the society. And that's really what we're coming at, is climate justice, social justice. If we think of kind of what we have as the pot in the middle of the table, and we think of the public, you know, and I suppose in Greek times you had a road, the Romans gave you a road, and maybe some thousands of years later somebody gave you electricity. Now what's going to be needed for a decent village? Can you talk to that one maybe?
It's an interesting one, as you know, how to bring that whole social justice element into it. And this is the great thing about this project, because it's teaming up with the STEM education and the arts, which it's not a combination that you would see very much together. But how to bring it in? I suppose what they have talked about is, they named a few things there, which was fantastic, about the solar panels on their own houses. And we could expand the conversation of, well, can everyone have those? And I suppose bringing awareness then of equalities and about expense, and where they think the government or whoever should fit in and have it. Or it could be in their, and that could be a thing in their adoption of the eco-village. We're not going to have just one street in nice suburban neighbourhood with all the, you know, the solar panels, and then we'll have the, you know, another neighbourhood where it's more lower income, having no solar panels. So and that's, you know, they're interesting, and so it's expanding that thought. What do you think on?
Yeah, if I can say,
doing?
remembering, like we're just about to publish a booklet for the schools, and you've been with us, Katelyn, and putting that together in our training manuals and all the different things we're doing with it. But like, we've an example of social housing that's done in Norwich that has actually won the Sterling British Architecture Prize, and it's just a stunning piece of information, and the drawings and the way the two architects did this incredible piece of work. So we're giving lots of examples from around the world. Our own research group, as you know, have been working all summer gathering information around the world. We've got these solar bicycle lanes that they've put in the Netherlands, that excites me, that they've got the cyclists cycling on these piezoelectric tiles, and they're generating electricity, and they're using it to kind of, power their bicycles further down the way. So like, these things are being done. So it's kind of getting that bit of excitement. But that's great, Katelyn, to hear that the students have got excited and engaged, because that's the first problem, isn't it, when you're teaching?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I suppose it just might be an assumption, like, I'm going into a TY class, an all boys TY class, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get these boys interested? But I think that's the problem as well, because I'm going in with this idea from, I suppose, you hear teachers talking about TYs in general, but to my surprise, they were actually really interested in the ideas that I had, and they had amazing discussions. One of the things we were talking about as well is how Ireland, our government, have all these initiatives. Like, they have the idea of public transport being electric, and yet they have all these electric buses bought, the funding has been spent, but they don't actually have the charging stations for them. So all these electric buses, I can see them in Limerick, but when I'm back around Cork myself, I don't see them anywhere. I don't see the electric buses. They don't actually have the facilities to charge the buses. So it's like spending all these monies into the initiatives without actually having the proper, like, structures for them is, it's quite difficult.
I like it, because I heard, was it Mary Robinson during the summer, and I loved the language that she used about how do we persuade the politicians, because we're connecting science with politics in a way here. We're connecting moral development and our moral values and science and technology in a STEAM package here, in that kind of an approach as we're talking. Young people in the national curriculum in Ireland, they can do what was called CSPE, the social and scientific, civic, social and political, and we have a subject called politics and society, and it's kind of a marriage between all of those subjects is what we're looking at here, and saying, how can we learn best from this marriage of subjects so that we can do things right and do things better. But what I heard Mary Robinson talk about in the summer was how we encourage our politicians to put the money in the right places. And I loved that word, encourage. So we can get the students inspired, and they can tell us what they think we need to do. And we've now got, I suppose, that more imagination. And maybe we're tapping in a bit to the UN goals, the United Nations sustainability goals, about having better communities, better quality in our villages. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think it's fantastic when you hear that, because that's connecting the politics when they become aware, and all of a sudden you're able to connect the politics, and they can have a voice, and they can have that voice. And even still, if they looked, they could even do a bit of research into what our last budget put forward. Was there money put forward for those charging points in there? And that's them connected. And then their voice can be heard, and they can use it in whatever way they feel within the project to send a message out that, we want better for our society and for our communities and this. But it's wonderful to hear that excitement. And as you say, it's transition years, and it's to get that engagement from all of them rather than the few. And it's just, that's what I love about this project, because it brings in so many aspects into their thinking.
Yeah, and to kind of have democratic voice isn't easy. I mean, we can assume that we all have democratic voices in our society and that everybody's voice is equal. But in reality, there is a lot of epistemic injustice, they say, done. I mean, there's great books and research by Miranda Fricker and other people talking about that kind of epistemic injustice that's done when people are saying something, but it's because of who they are, they're not listened to. So we need people to feel that democratic voice and the voice of people being important as to what kind of a future village and society we want in Ireland. What makes me excited about it is I lived years ago with John in Texas. We lived for a year there, and one day, I don't know, I must have had nothing to do. I must have had too much sunshine, or I don't know what I was at. But I worked out that 22 Irelands would fit into the state of Texas. And I realised just how small a dot this beautiful Emerald Isle is when you fly in over it. Or if you leave Dublin at 11 o'clock in the morning, you're going out over Clew Bay and Mayo at 11:30. So we're just the small country. So it's like, gosh, wouldn't it be fabulous with new technology and new science and all of that if it was geared towards making all that infrastructure and public infrastructure better? It would be just so magic. That's my interest in the project. I think we really do need to think outside the box. I mean, what else did you get out of the work that you've been doing or looking at?
I suppose what I've been mostly looking at is trying to develop a guide for teachers to try and help them include different ideas from STEAM, science ideas, technology ideas, engineering, arts and maths. And it's just trying to really I want to say what's really magical about this project is you can do so much with it and you can build it out, or if it depends on how long you want to spend on this project now. Of course, I'd say the longer the better, the more time you can spend giving these students a voice, allowing them to build on their ideas. And I really like that there is such an idea to follow, that there is an end point as well, that if they want to develop, I suppose, reports and stuff like that and things like that for the project, that there is something to come out of it. But what I want to say is it's giving them a platform now in a place like TY, and then they can build further onto their own ideas, knowing that they have this voice. Again, like you're talking about a democratic voice, knowing that they have this voice, that they can build on these ideas as they get older. Knowing that, they can, I suppose, focus on the topic of sustainability and I suppose expand on their own ideas.
Yeah. And it's that kind of collective consciousness we want them to develop, that kind of collective consciousness together to say, for a society. So a society would want to think of millions of ways of solving our problems as opposed to just one fix. So get them to expand their thinking out and keep going with that. You're a physics and chemistry graduate, and you're going to be one of our final year physics and chemistry, student teachers. You're going into final year when you come back from this placement. So tell me where the physics and chemistry comes out of it for you.
I suppose it's actually just when I suppose a teacher just hears sustainability, they don't think about the types of, I suppose, science that can go into the projects. When you're even looking at physics, you're talking about energy. And it's looking at the energy output of a house. You're looking in terms of, I suppose, even then you're talking about insulation. It's there are all these scientific topics that you can bring into it that you don't even realize. Now, of course, when you're doing all of this, it's like you target the level to the students that you have. If it's TY, like you don't want to add too much theoretical stuff, but you still want to bring in those science concepts. Like I do think that's important, just especially just in general, just to, I suppose, focus on the science in it, you know, build something out of it. And like they can definitely, like, I suppose, get their scientific thinking, but also I love the arts element of it as well.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, I suppose as you bring in the energy, all the different ways in which energy and new materials and technology and even the chemistry of it all can make a difference. So when somebody understands the concepts, they understand what the hole in the ozone layer is about, they understand greenhouse gases, and they actually have that understanding at the back of it. That makes that argument about climate change and climate justice come alive. There's a new subject coming next September, but I see the announcement there from the minister there some weeks ago, and the NCCA have been working on it for a while. That project on climate action and sustainability. Do you want to talk a bit to that, Michelle?
Yeah, well, just first of all, before I moving back to what Katelyn was saying about our students, what I love about the STEM and the integration of the STEM and the physics and the chemistry, what I love about this and what you've been telling us is that it's the students, it's driven by the students, it's their ideas, and then it's once you develop their ideas and they're coming up with little ideas, but you as you say, the science is there. You know, you it's there. You don't have to even look for it. It's just there. And the maths, if you want, the engineering is there, the creativity is there. And it all fits in, Geraldine, with the new climate action and sustainable development subject that is coming up on the Leaving Cert.
Yeah.
And we can all learn so much from the students and you, the teachers on the ground, on how this develops.
It's like having the courage to look at kind of melting the disciplines together in a very respectful way, one not dominating the other, and having a lovely, all that multidisciplinary business going on, and the light in between, and all of that happening, so that people are really find that this knowledge is very valuable to them. But knowledge on its own is going to go nowhere unless there's values, and we know what our moral values and our political ambitions are, and we've got a whole lot of other things to know there as well, so that we can make that difference to the society.
No, absolutely. And I think, science teachers, they'll have absolutely amazing ideas to add to the project. But what I also think is nice as well is some teachers who'll be teaching TY Green schools potentially mightn't have taught science before. So I do think that it's nice to be able to provide a few ideas. But then, of course, if you're a chemistry physics teacher and you have brilliant ideas to bring to the table yourself, like this guide isn't something saying like you need to do this. It is just, I suppose, just a booklet full of ideas, for you to add to, or you can take and use them as you please. It is something just to kind of bring these science ideas into the project. But of course, we'd encourage bringing your own ideas as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the secret. I mean, I think between the Human Rights Charter and between the UN Sustainable Goals and everything that's been added in there, it's connected to the literature, but it is just, after all, just a little outreach project. We're keeping it developmental. We want to build a good relationship with the schools and the teachers and the students. We're so delighted to have 8 schools already in Limerick who have registered to be with us. We're so delighted to have our Hunt Museum personnel and our partners with us. And we wouldn't have got anywhere with it without the director of the Limerick Education Supports Centre, Norma O'Brien, having coming into it from the very beginning and seeing the magic in it and seeing how this could be a great inspiration. That kind of inspired, I think, where the Hunt Museum can do and what they've given us already is they can really inspire. And there's lovely eco villages around, and Clough have come with us to give us some, video support. And so we've got so much support already, and local enterprises all connected around Limerick City are all talking to us at the moment about, some small prizes that we can give when the students come to present their presentations. And of course, it's like how long is a piece of string? The project can go on for a long time. But I suppose at the end of the day, we really want to kind of probably have to help the schools as well decide as to how many hours this project should last. But we're hoping from now to Christmas that they'll plan it and devise it and get something planned and made from it. and then in the springtime get it ready for presenting to us for maybe an exhibition in March, April. Any last final words that you want to say before we wind off today?
No, I think you've said it all, Geraldine, because
That's
we'll have
typical of me,
next
too
week.
much.
We need lots to say.
That's
we'll have
trouble
lots
with
to
me.
say.
I say too much, don't I? Go on, Katelyn. You must have something to say.
No, I'm just saying I'm, delighted that both of you have had me, and I'd love to come back again, once I've had these students a little bit longer. They brought me such amazing ideas in one double class. I can't wait to share with you all the ideas they will bring to me, after a couple of classes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
okay.
exciting.
Well, listen, thank you very much, Katelyn, for coming in today.
Thanks,
and
Katelyn.
to my co-host, Michelle, and to myself, Geraldine, Simmie, signing off. And our music today, Barn Dance, the Kilnamona Barn Dance. It's a County Clare barn dance. It's very appropriate and played by Avril McLaughlin. And Avril is a researcher and a lecturer here in the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance at the University of Limerick. So we're very, very pleased to have Avril. We'll finish off now with another blast of the Kilnamona Barn Dance. Thank you for today.